Monday morning market moves, but shifting to week 13 of the NFL, PJ, let's start with the Thanksgiving Day games. And we talked both the Packers and Lions earlier, right off the top of the show. Packers got a win yesterday, but I think it was a valuable question you asked. Did they win that game or did J.J. McCarthy lose it? The Lions, by the hair on their chinny chin, got away with one in overtime against Jameis Winston and the Giants at home. Packers, Lions laying a field goal at home in this one, a rematch of the Packers' resounding week 1 victory that had us all asking a million questions about the Lions. But as I mentioned earlier, the Packers have just one road win this year over a team with a winning record, and it was in that primetime game in Pittsburgh where Tucker Kraft took over in the second half against the Steelers. Obviously, we know no Tucker Kraft. I think that's, I don't want to say it's flown under the radar, but that's been a story that probably hasn't been talked about as much as it should be in the Packers' difficulties on offense over the last several weeks. They were without Josh Jacobs yesterday as well. Be curious to see if Jacobs is back for Thursday afternoon. And just in general, if the Packers can do anything close this week in Detroit to what they did week 1 against the Lions at Lambeau.
Yeah, no question. I mean, such a big game. It's crazy, Chris. These two teams are playing with the records of 7-3 and 1 and 7-4, and neither team's leading the division, right? So again, the Bears, man, just keep finding ways to win games. Talked about it a little bit earlier, though. I mean, this is just, for me, is like classic NFL, and I think this year has shown us more than any other. It is a week-to-week league, right? As soon as you think you know one thing about these teams, they can just do a complete 360 and look a completely different other way. So with the Lions and how they've looked the past few weeks, certainly struggling against the Eagles, should have lost to the Giants yesterday. That game goes to overtime. And the fact that they're only a 3-point favorite at home, the Packers dominant win yesterday against the Vikings. But again, Chris, like the offense for Green Bay just still doesn't look right. And I think the Lions defense, I think they were looking ahead a little bit to this game, right? Knowing what a big game it was. So because it was such a sandwich spot in between the Eagles and the Packers with that Giants game yesterday, and you have the Packers coming in, riding a high, playing really well, the Lions coming off a game where they didn't play all that great. I think -3 is a nice buy here on Detroit. I don't think we get to 2.5, but man, would I love it with the Lions. I think 3 is a nice bet though. So I like Detroit here at home. I like a -3.
Yeah, I'd love a 2.5 as well. I get the feeling that as we get closer to Thursday morning, we'll probably see a little more money push this towards the Lions and probably get a hook at some point. So I would jump on Lions -3 for all the reasons you just laid out, chief of which is the questions about Green Bay's offense. Even if I think the only thing that slows this, PJ, maybe taps the brakes on a move to 3.5, would be if we get definitive word that Jacobs is going to play in this game. But even that, I don't think is enough to keep me off of Detroit. If it got to 3.5, I myself might tap the brakes and go, okay, maybe not. But at 3, I like the Lions, especially at home against this struggling Packers offense. So I tend to fall down on the same side as you on the Thanksgiving Day opener at Ford Field. Afternoon game on Thanksgiving will be in Dallas. Cowboys hosting the Chiefs. Cowboys have won 3 in a row on Thanksgiving for what it's worth. And look out, here come the Chiefs. Not necessarily as pretty as it's been in past years, but they finally got a 100-yard rusher yesterday in Kareem Hunt. And I think that's the most important factor for me here, PJ, is that while they have Mahomes at their disposal, and we know what Mahomes can do late in ball games, they've also got the ability to control the ball game a little bit more with a run game. And that's something I know Dallas has gotten better against the run since their trade deadline moves, but I still think it's an opportunity for the Chiefs to control the pace in this one. It's 3.5, and I don't like laying the hook on the road. But if I were forced to make a decision on this one right now, I would probably go Chiefs. I'll be curious to see if we get some money come in on Dallas being the home dog on Thanksgiving that pushes this to 3. So I might wait on this one to see if we get that. If we do get Kansas City laying only the 3, I would probably jump on that.
I would agree. It's the same way I felt about the Colts game. You know, at 3.5, I don't want the Chiefs. At 3, I like the Chiefs, and it's for exactly what you saw yesterday, where the 3 you get the push. Just because, I mean, we know how Kansas City operates, man. 3.5 with them is so important. I mean, they win so many games by 3 points. I think a money line play with Kansas City is probably the way to go. You know, if you want to, like, you can parlay together like Chiefs money line with maybe Ohio State money line or something like that. Get yourself close to even money. So that was what I did with last week. Was I got in on the Lions yesterday when they were minus 10.5, and when the Chiefs were minus 3, and I parlayed the money lines together. It got me close to even money. Now both games were a sweat. Both games went to overtime, but we did get there. So something like that. It's just one of these games where the way I'm approaching the Chiefs, Chris, is it's almost like there is some fan in me as well, where I'm like, you know, I'm going to bet the Chiefs, and if they lose, then honestly, like, great. Like, I don't want the Chiefs in the playoffs, but I think they're going to win all these games, and I think they're going to find a way, and I think they're going to find a way to get it done too. Dallas is much improved, and again, I think they can cover this spread and keep it close, but I just think Kansas City finds a way to win the game.
The nightcap on Thanksgiving, Bengals, Ravens in Baltimore. It's 7 almost all the way across the board, although I do see a 7.5 out there. This is all based on Joe Burrow and what he looks like, assuming he's going to play. They'll get Jamar Chase back from the 1-game suspension, but T. Higgins presumably out. A nasty collision with the ground with the back of his head yesterday. He'll be in concussion protocol, and I have a hard time believing he clears by Thursday. So what is Burrow working with? How much rust, as Jason La Canfora mentioned earlier when we had him on, does he have to shake off? And do you feel comfortable with the Ravens laying a touchdown or more given their offensive struggles? I mean, it was a bit of a dogfight yesterday for 2.5 quarters against the Jets before they finally got a Derrick Henry touchdown run in the third quarter to kind of give themselves a little breathing room.
Yeah, I already bet the Bengals plus 7.5, Chris. And I agree with Jason that I think maybe they're live in this game, especially at the number you're getting, plus 325. I think that's worth the sprinkle. The next couple days leading up to this game, all people are going to want to talk about is Burrow, whether or not he's going to play, his availability, is Higgins going to be in there, those kind of things. And not enough's being talked about Lamar. And he just does not look like himself. He's not healthy. Like, you just watched him the last couple weeks against the Browns and the Jets. He's not himself. He doesn't want to run. He's not accurate right now as a passer. He's not confident. Their offensive line's not blocking. They're a mess right now offensively. And these games against Cincinnati are always close. The Ravens have found ways to win them the last few years, but these games are coin flips, man. They come down to the wire. I mean, all these AFC North games the Ravens play usually are. So if you give me 7 with the Bengals or with the Steelers, in these kinds of games, it's probably going to be a similar spread when the Ravens play Pittsburgh next week, probably 6.5, somewhere in that range. I like the Bengals. If you can get a 7.5, they're still out there. Definitely grab that. But still at 7, I think Cincinnati's a good play. I do think we're going to see Burrow. And I think this game's going to be close because, again, that Ravens offense right now just does not look very good.
Yeah, we'll see if the Bengals defense is a cure-all for that. They have been for several teams this year. You feel like your offense isn't getting much done, and then you get a visit from Cincinnati, and it turns things around for you, maybe even if just for one weekend. Before we get to the Black Friday game in Philly between the Eagles and Bears, this is a very important question, PJ. Thanksgiving is always marked by the attached post-meal nap. I'm sorry, it just is. Even if you're locked in on a game, I'm sorry. The tryptophan hits, no matter how much turkey you had, your belly's full, maybe you've had a drink or two, and you doze off in the recliner or on the couch at grandma's house or wherever it may be, and you miss a little bit. So, first question is, when is Thanksgiving dinner served in the Glasser household, and does it make it appropriate for a post-meal nap? When do you get it in?
So usually when that Cowboys game is kicking off around like 4:15, 4:30 is usually when dinner is served with the game playing in the background. And then, this year is obviously different with the Ravens playing the night game. I'm probably going to be, like looking forward to that I don't think I'll get my nap in. So this year is obviously a different circumstance. I tend to just get my nap in though, if anything, like middle of the Lions game for the most part, or
Okay.
like towards the end of the Lions, like somewhere in between there. I'm usually, once that Cowboys game hits and then dinner is served, I'm normally pretty good after that. So I think if anything, you're looking at like an early day nap on Thanksgiving.
It's tough because these are three really good matchups on
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. It doesn't really give you, typically for me, it's like second quarter of the afternoon game, usually the
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys game. I nod off. I wake up. Dolly Parton's dancing around in hot pants, and it's like, whoa, she shouldn't look that good for how old she is, but she is. Why am I all of a sudden intrigued by Dolly Parton again? Anyway, side note, that's usually when the nap comes in, is the second quarter of the Cowboys game. But Chiefs Cowboys, I don't know when that's going to happen this year. I think it's as much a part of the Thanksgiving tradition as the turkey and the football, is getting that little doze on the recliner in at some point on Thanksgiving. Black Friday, you hole up, you get ready for a whole lot more football, including the NFL, who has now taken over Black Friday afternoon as well. 3 Eastern kick in Philly between the Bears and the Eagles. Eagles laying a touchdown against the 8-3 Chicago Bears. They've won 8 out of their last 9. But again, we talk about one of these NFC North teams like we did with the Packers, not having a great track record on the road against decent teams. The Bears, 2 road games against teams with winning records were resounding losses. Week 2, they got waxed by Detroit. Week 8, they lost by a couple of touchdowns at Baltimore. The Eagles maybe reeling after that loss in Dallas, blowing a 21-point lead. I'm sorry. I'm just not comfortable laying a touchdown with the Eagles in any scenario right now, even against a Bears team that may be 8-3, but I'm not totally sold on.
I agree. I can't get there with Philly. I don't really want to bet the Bears either. But Chris, to me, my fear is that, do you remember when the Colts played the Chargers and the Colts got off to a great start this season and the Chargers were favored in that game? And a lot of people were betting the Chargers because we weren't sold on the Colts. And that was the game where we're like, okay, Indy's for real. A lot of us aren't sold on the Bears right now. But I'm worried that they could just like mess around in a game like this and maybe find a way to win. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh, maybe Chicago's like actually decent. And then
Yeah.
maybe they fall off after that. But like you said, the Eagles, that's just not an offense I want to lay 7 points with. I think the play is the Bears team total under. Because I think Caleb and the offense struggling is the thing I feel the best about. Philly's defense is playing very well. They're going to be at home. And this Bears offense, I know they played well against the Steelers yesterday, but more often than not, they do look really sluggish at times and really bad. So haven't gotten a number with that yet. I'm thinking, it's probably going to be like 17 and a half, 18 and a half, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe 19 and a half. And I think Bears team total under probably the way to go. Because look, the Bears could lose a game, 17-14 or somewhere in that range. But I think their team total under probably the play I'll go with.
I do think it's interesting with the +7 being just a little juiced right now. If we get to 7.5, would we make a move on the Bears? And I might think about it. I might give it a good, long, hard look if it gets to 7.5. I still don't know if I'd be in on it, but I think that move might be coming by the time we get to Friday.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It honestly strikes me as one of these games where I think the Bears win outright or I think the Eagles kill them, Like I think it's one of those in
Yeah.
betweens. Like I don't really see a game where the Eagles win by 4 or something like that. I kind of think it's like a 27-10 kind of game, or it's like a Bears 21-20 upset, somewhere in that range. So that might worry me. It was like last night on Sunday night when the Bucks went up to 7.5, and I thought, ooh, now we're getting Tampa at the hook. I didn't bet it, and thank goodness I didn't. But I just worry about, like, sometimes they give you that hook, and it makes you bet it, and in
Yeah.
reality, it's just like there's a reason why I went to 7.5.